Well, here let's do a rarefied one. This is this dude Clayton Morris, who I think lives in Portugal or Brazil. Like he doesn't live in the United States. And he wants to be kind of a like a younger hetero version of Glenn Greenwald. That's what he seems to be selling because he does the show with his wife. And this is titled "What the U.S. Just Said About China Is Terrifying." It's all in quote. It's all in caps. Terrifying. Redacted with Clayton Morris. By the way, I'm sure that Lee Camp is pissed that this dude took redacted, although they're just both overlapping. But he got the redacted checkmarked station. They've got 825,000 subscribers because there's big shit on America money out there to be had.
Said about China.
All right. Anyway, so what the U.S. said about China is terrifying.
China. It's pretty darn terrifying. So
what's that we're going to defend Taiwan?
If you missed it, here's what the New York Times, out with this headline, had to say. U.S. aims to constrain China by shaping its environment, Blinken says. Sure, nothing to see here, I'm sure, because when the United States
weather machines, we're gonna zap them with a earthquake gun.
Admits to trying to constrain a country, it always turns out great. So,
well, when we don't say post 2014 Russia, it gets way worse. Also, this is the idea that that American isolationism and non-interventionism is the only way to a peaceful world. This will be the pro-China attack you'll hear today.
Antony Blinken, the guy that has no H in his name, so you just say Antony.
So Antonio doesn't have a th in it because of where it comes from in the world. By the way, dude doesn't live in the United States, lives in a foreign country, probably experiences a lot of Tomases a lot as well.
Antony Blinken.
Like Scalia, Antonin Scalia, who goes by Anthony to his close, did.
Mr. Blinken, in his own words from a speech yesterday. Don't Blinken or you'll miss him.
So what you're going to tell me before you play this clip is that it's cut unnaturally short to give artificial context or eliminate any.
China's the only country with both the intent to reshape the international order and increasingly the economic, diplomatic, military, and technological power to do it.
So I just have to stop it there for a second. So
is that why we have to stop don't Blinken or we'll miss it because you're going to slice through this thing? So he's saying they're the only country big enough to do it. Now, Russia was close, but Russia is fucking itself up. There's an argument, by the way, about whether or not China has the ability also, which I don't necessarily buy, but that they're going to operate as if, because there's still a lot of American businesses and European businesses that assemble a lot of things in China. The manufacturing base is still there, even though it's collapsing as we speak.
China is the...
Thank you, Andrea. Yes, 666 Memorial Day Super Chat. We've got 666 people in the YouTube chat, and that means if you feel like contributing, $6.66. Now is the time to do it. Any variation thereof, no job is too big, no fee is too big.
Only country with both the intent and the capability to fundamentally reshape the global order.
Yes, away from a liberal order and to an authoritarian one. There's a bunch of ones that would like to try it, like North Korea or Iran or whatever, or even Russia, but they're not capable of doing it because they just don't have the means and wherewithal. I don't, honest to God, I don't think China has the means and wherewithal either, but Blinken is smart to take it seriously.
I almost spit out my coffee. I'm not going to even waste my breath calling out the bullshit of that statement coming from...
We'll try. Is that because you can't?
...a country that in the very same week just sent $40 billion to Ukraine.
To defend itself from a country that is trying to reshape the world order in their own image as an authoritarian state. I mean, I don't see any... What's the contradiction?
And then also sent soldiers back to Somalia in basically the same 7-day period.
Right, because there's a civil war in Somalia and there are human rights. Hold on. Let's see. I'll bring up why in a second. The This is what he's referring to. U.S. will soon redeploy troops in Somalia, the mission and key goals. This is the overall purpose of it. Biden administration in the U.S. recently announced it would be providing a persistent presence in Somalia of up to around 450 U.S. soldiers, reversing a decision by Donald Trump, because why would you protect black people, to withdraw 700 troops from the country. Several factors probably prompted the administration's decision. First, in my view, this isn't a change of policy. It's about logistics. U.S. troops will continue to perform the same tasks as before, but they will once again be based in Somalia rather than outside the country, which required them to commute to work. Commuting was far from ideal. That's because of they would fly in and do stuff. Here you go. U.S. less effective at countering terrorist threats in Afghanistan, Somalia since troop withdrawal, generals warn. Second, the security conditions in Somalia appear to be deteriorating, with Al-Shabaab able to increase its attacks against civilians, as well as Somali African Union and other forces, which, for the record, this dipshit couldn't care less about. It's 450 people. We're sending in 450 troops, mostly for logistics and support. Third, the Biden administration has been conducting a review of its Somalia policy for well over a year. Perhaps it is now finally drawing conclusions such as base some troops inside Somalia is more sensible than having them continue to commute inside the country. So they fly in and they fly out. Finally, the new Somali president, Hassan Sheikh Mohammed, is very receptive to the move, calling the U.S. a reliable partner in our quest to stability and fight against terrorism. A senior advisor to the new president agreed, saying Trump's decision to withdraw was a wrong and hasty decision which disrupted counterterrorism operations. They're there by request.
Okay, so maybe I will waste a little bit of my breath on that, but it's ridiculous, right?
Sorry.
Now, if you watch the full
all of this jackass breath is wasted.
Speech, and I encourage you to do that, you get a really full understanding of just how warped the United States is towards China. Here's another clip.
Sorry.
Even as president
towards China. One second. I keep this what keeps popping up? Hold on. I think it's because I have Jimmy's on pause in here. So sorry. There we go. This will bring it up.
President Putin's war continues. We will remain focused on the most serious long-term challenge to the international order, and that's posed by the People's Republic of China.
Okay, so first and foremost,
who cares about Uyghurs? And anybody who thinks that there's a problem with them sterilizing, raping, murdering, and re-educating Uyghurs en masse to the tune of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of them over time, they're going to stop at the Uyghurs. So I don't know what all this is going on. Are you a Uyghur? Do you even know one? Do you really care? I mean, what's the U.S. even care about this? And obviously we're invading, and by invading, I mean we're stopping buying some of their goods that are made with slave labor. And that in and of itself is hypocritical, because America had slavery a long time ago, fought a war amongst its citizens to stop it, lost 500,000 of its citizens deciding that factor, and hasn't had it since.
In this speech is the declaration that Russia is nothing really to pay attention to.
No. They're not a long-term threat because they're on the verge of collapse.
The real story is China and the impending war with them.
No, there's no impending war with them.
Now,
by the way, the only war that's being conducted in or around China right now is the Chinese government on its own citizens. Hold on. They just released some of the, here's, you want to know about a war going on in China? Go look up lie flat. Here you go. You guys want to see this? And by the way, do you think this dipshit knows anything about any of this stuff? I doubt it. The lie flat movement in China. Here's this is just the first story. There you go. Why would you declare war on a country? You know how everybody talks about, especially the Chinese government loves to talk about how lazy the American people are in general. The Chinese literally have this liu jiu jiu, which is 699, 6 days a week, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's like working themselves to death. So they gave up on that. The people who are leaving liu jiu jiu are moving to the lying flat movement, which is they just lay in bed, drink, smoke, and cry. But the crying is optional. But they basically just go. There's no reason to join the rat race. Does anybody think this is a 10-year strategy for innovation? This is July 8th of last year. The lying flat movement standing in the way of China's innovation drive. There is no innovation drive over there. Also, there's no way this jackass knows anything about this.
We've been talking about
or if he does, he's ignoring it on purpose.
This on the show for a number of months, especially since the most recent Russian invasion of Ukraine unfolded.
It unfolded.
We said it.
It was folded and then it unfolded. You know what I mean? Like a piece of paper, you just sit there and it kind of opens up.
Here, that this is just a distraction. The real story is China, right? So now he's even admitting it. Like, Russia over there, that's fine. Don't pay attention to them. Oh,
yeah, that's not what he's talking about.
good, because the U.S. has proven just how badly our disastrous policy with Ukraine has gone. So now
it has. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Hey Siri, stream. So this is artifacting over here. Sorry. And
1 moment.
there you go.
Okay.
People are picking up the pieces around Kharkiv after liberation by Ukrainian forces. Yeah, it's going terribly. What part's going terribly? The part where Russia has lost a third of its forces already.
now let's try it out on China.
What do you mean? Try out what? Force China to attack Taiwan? Is that what we're going to do?
We armed the Ukraine military that just got destroyed by Russia, so now let's funnel billions.
I beg your pardon?
We armed the Ukraine military that just got destroyed by Russia.
Is this guy, is this a clip from 2014? What? Oh, I set off Siri. I'm sorry.
So now let's funnel billions of dollars into Taiwan and train those guys.
We've already been training those guys. That isn't new. None of that is new. As a matter of fact, we didn't have troops on the ground in Ukraine when Russia attacked. We currently have troops in Taiwan training them.
Seems to work every time we do it, right? Afghanistan, Somalia, Ukraine, the list.
What? And also the list goes on. First of all, Somalia we were helping them. Trump pulled us out and Al-Shabaab made advances and started killing the citizenry. They asked us back in. We had 700. We're only having 450 in there now. Ukraine is an ongoing concern. I don't know if this asshole, if he's probably getting the same news that Putin's getting.
List is endless.
The list is endless. Well, then why is it the same list and 2 out of 3 of your sources are not examples of failure, and the third example is what was the? Hold on.
Into Taiwan and train those guys. Seems to work every time we do it, right? Afghanistan, Somalia, Ukraine.
Okay, so Afghanistan. Again, Afghanistan, we held up the government as long as we could, but we couldn't hold it up for them, and when we left, they collapsed. Now, I know this dude and his wife are against women getting educated and a free society flourishing in Afghanistan. You'd think they'd root for it in general after we left, but apparently not. The natural state, as far as this asshole is concerned, is that Afghanistan is a Taliban-run state.
The list is endless.
How many views does this guy have? 825,000 subscribers. This video itself has 16,000 likes. The views aren't listed. I don't see the views on this one. Where am I missing it? Show less. Well, it's 16,000 likes anyways. And like I said, 825. So maybe half that. I'd have to look. But a lot. This asshole is not talking in a vacuum. Although how many of those are bots is one thing. And the other thing is, if you've got 825,000 subscribers and only 16,000 likes watching your videos, I'm going to guess that 500,000 of those subscribers are more than likely bought and paid for to artificially elevate the channel.
The honest truth, of course, is that, as ex-CIA Larry Johnson put it in an excellent interview with friend of the show Eva Bartlett, we haven't fought a real enemy since the Korean War. Listen.
That the United States really has not fought a genuine foe, somebody who could fight back since World War II, or let's say the Korean War.
So our military isn't capable of doing anything. By the way, the Chinese never have. The last fight they got involved in, Vietnam kicked their ass in 1979.
Vietnam doesn't even really count, because in Vietnam they were not up against an air force that had the competence of the United States. The Ukrainian military is not a real military now. It's been eviscerated.
It's been eviscerated. Honestly, where the fuck is this guy gathering any, how in the world, how do you get that takeaway from what's actually happening there right now? Yeah, dude, it's why Top Gun was formed, because of the losses in Vietnam. Exactly. What?
It's been neutered.
It's been neutered. So the Russians are having their asses kicked by a neutered, eviscerated force.
And Russia was very effective in doing that.
They what? Since when?
Now, side note, we reported on this show a few months ago that the United States already has troops in Taiwan and has been actively
that's what I said.
Training them for some time.
Right. The Taiwanese have been readying themselves for a battle against China for fucking 50 years. The Ukrainians have been on their heels and sock puppeted by Russia for years, and only until about 2015 did they start to write that. And still, I mean, it's just silly.
Not a shocker. Another amazing moment came when Blinken said, quote, China has announced its ambition to create a sphere of influence in the Indo-Pacific.
And it has announced its ambition to create a sphere of influence in the Indo-Pacific and to become the world's leading power.
Really?
Yes.
Has China said that?
Yes.
And I've just missed it?
Yes.
I mean, it's possible.
Yes.
I'm not that bright.
That's true.
I miss a lot of things.
It's true.
Maybe I missed it. Okay, let's start with a simple Google search. Here's my search. Does Google get money from the government? Oops, sorry. Wrong search question. But here's the answer I got. Yes, the U.S. government funnels massive subsidies.
What? The fuck does that have to do with anything?
To Google. Sorry, I just wanted to provide some context here.
It doesn't receive... It has contracts. And the subsidies, quote unquote, are for the large, server farms and company stuff like any other corporation. That's like Googling, does the National Football League get government subsidies?
When I actually do a search on Google about China, let's see if I get some honest answers. Okay, here, let's search this now on Google. Has China announced a plan to create a sphere of influence in the Indo-Pacific? Well, that's odd. Here are the results. There are none. In fact, the only results that even speak about this are from the United States government source.
That's because you're using their words. Hold on. Hold on. China. Oops.
Now, our top story is coming in from the South Pacific region, where China is on a mission to increase its dominance. The Asian nation's bid to expand its orbit is troubling the West. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi, who is leading the country's agenda in South Pacific, has managed to sign bilateral agreements with yet another island. Out of the 10 islands China is eyeing, Samoa became the second island that has agreed for greater collaborations with Beijing. The Samoan government confirmed that the leadership of both the nations discussed climate change, the pandemic, peace and security. Keeping the details of the deal under wraps, the government further added that China would continue to provide infrastructural development support and there would be a new framework for future projects. This comes amid Wang Yi's 8-day tour to South Pacific Islands.
Beijing eyes 10 Pacific Islands, announces 5-year deal. Now, let's go back here real quick. China. Let's see. I'm trying to find something that this asshole wouldn't say is China putting, is the West putting out some sort of thing. Just so that we don't have any of that overlap. That's the same one as on China on the move. And then
we start tonight with a story that we're very happy to report, a story of small island nations standing up to China, tiny Pacific countries rebuffing the dragon. It's an incredible story and rare too. You see, smaller countries do not usually do this. They're vulnerable. They need...
See that outreach, the 10 islands? Okay, that's from a few days ago. This is from 4 hours ago.
Money. They end up as vassal states. Making a compromise becomes their survival tactic. But not in this case. China came knocking on their doors and they turned it away. Let me start from the beginning. In fact, we've been telling you about this all of last week. We told you how China was targeting the Pacific, how China wanted a security pact with 10 Pacific islands. In fact, China was so confident of having its way that it went with a pre-drafted deal. Guess what? It has been given a royal snub. The deal is off. And Wang Yi, the Chinese foreign minister, will return home empty-handed.
Sources like the US Embassy.gov and, the White House. And here's another one. Yeah.
It's because he's doing a search based on the language used by Anthony Blinken.
This
Anthony.
One from the State Department. Now, you would think that all of the money that the U.S. intelligence state funnels to different newspapers and press like the
or that you think they do.
Washington Post, that there would at least be some fake news articles out there to support this claim. But
Chinese President Xi Jinping hailed the achievements of the Communist Party of China and confidently declared its future goals on Thursday as tens of thousands gather in Beijing to celebrate its 100th anniversary. The paramount leader, who donned a Mao suit while other officials arrived in formal attire, told attendees at Tiananmen Square that the party had accomplished the centennial goal of creating a moderately prosperous society. We now march in confident strides toward the second 100-year goal of building China into a modern socialist country in all respects, he declared. He praised on the party's early history, including its humble working-class roots in the years after Russia's October Revolution. The Chinese leader's speech exuded a sense of bullishness, even assertiveness, as he pronounced China's readiness to fend off bullying and oppression by foreign forces. We have never bullied, oppressed, or subjugated the people of any other country, and we never will, he told the nation, before warning of the party's unshakable commitment to resolving the Taiwan question. China has caught up with the times, he added. In his hour-long address, the CPC, by the way, it's CCP, they do this, the Communist Party of China instead of the Chinese Communist Party. They've been reshaping that and trying to get people to say CPC. It's CCP. Had helped China overcome subversion, sabotage, and armed provocation by imperialist and hegemonic powers. It wouldn't exist if the U.S. hadn't liberated them from Japan. The party was central in dismantling the old world and building a new one. It was a callback to famous Mao Zedong era slogan, without the Communist Party, there would be no new China. Only socialism could save China. Only socialism with Chinese characteristics can develop China. The leadership of today's party is a defining feature of socialism with Chinese characteristics, as well as the greatest strength of the system. By the way, this is like one big phrase, kind of like Allah Akbar. Like socialism with Chinese characteristics is a phrase that all goes together. Marxism works. No, it doesn't. It really, really doesn't. Vision of the greatest modern socialist country in all respects. Let's see, the Chinese path, by the way, which is all just bullish capitalism from, in a kleptocracy. What was the other thing I was going to look up real quick? Because that made me think of something. What was it? Rats. I'll remember it in a second. Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. Hold on one second. Doing great. Everything's going very well. Cash crisis amid China's stalling economy. Rural banks freeze accounts. Regulators playing pass the parcel. Deposits at 4 rural banks in the central Chinese province of Henan have been frozen since April 18th. On April 18th, in China, if you went to any of these 4 rural banks where the farmers have their money, and you tried to take any money out, what they told you was that they're updating their system, and it's just a computer glitch. Come back tomorrow, and you'll be able to take money out. That was April 18th. They're still frozen. April 18th. Yeah. Henan. Right. What?
I can't find them. Now,
that's because he's literally looking for Blinken's quote because he's a fucking liar.
If you want to be cynical, you could say that China's Belt and Road Initiative that was announced by Xi Jinping in 2013 as a massive infrastructure initiative
is a debt trap.
Has a few minor tentacles
It's a few minor tentacles
to the Indo-Pacific region. But even that doesn't seem to be what they're talking about.
No, it's militaristic.
Military.
Here's another one. Hold on. You want to see the fun part? You want to see the part that this asshole is again, this is one of those things. Ignorance or assholishness, it's hard to tell. China okay. Here's something that perhaps this asshole could pretend to not know. We'll see. China has a covert naval fleet disguised as fishing boats. The Pentagon's new report on China's developing military capabilities exposed the fighting force on the front line of China's quest to control the seas. No thanks. The Chinese Maritime Militia, CMM, a paramilitary force masquerading as a civilian fishing fleet, is a weapon for gray zone aggression that has operated in the shadow of plausible deniability for years. Supported by the People's Liberation Army Navy, gray hulls, and Chinese Coast Guard white hulls, the CMM blue hulls constitute China's third sea force. The CMM engages in low-intensity coercion in maritime disputes, according to the Department of Defense. So, let's see. Shall I show you the, let's see, CMM Chinese blockade. So the Philippines was trying to fish, and look at this. The Philippines released photos of Chinese ships moored at a reef on the 7th of March. So the Chinese roll in with these fishing boats, which are really military boats, and they blockade fishing areas that belong to other countries, steal their fish behind this wall of boats, and then move away. It's very similar to the kind of like stealing of farmland in Georgia and Chechnya, but Georgia specifically, and Ukraine technically in Russia. Same thing. Same fucking thing.
Terry is what they're talking about.
Nice, Terry. Thank you.
So just to put a pin on that part.
And by the way, thank you, Cynthia and Laura. John, thanks for the super chat. Bethany, happy Memorial Day to you as well. Erica, thank you so much. Craig, thanks. Yay. Guido Day. Well, since he was questioning the timing of the Uvalde shooting in regards to the NRA conference, thank you.
For a moment. Now, the U.S. is saying that China wants an influence in its own backyard.
No, it doesn't. It wants an influence around other fucking countries. The South China Sea is the Indo-Pacific region, is the Indian Ocean across the fucking Pacific into other people's territory. Hawaii is in the Indo-Pacific region, you fucking dolt.
Right? Like, I own a house and I want to have...
Oh my God. It's moron analogy time. We'll make a small analogy that doesn't portray the reality that we're discussing today. Hey, it's dumb analogy time.
Influence over my kids playing in the backyard, right?
No, this is, here's the analogy. You have a backyard and you want influence over your kids playing in the backyard, so you park your car in your neighbor's living room. And if they try to get you to move, you get them fired from their job by shooting their boss.
So even if that were true, who cares? Who gives a rat's ass? Other Western imperial powers want to control everything.
No, they don't. We want trade to be allowed, but we're not controlling that. We're actually protecting it from piracy and allowing it to occur.
I mean, think about this for a second.
Okay, we'll think about it for longer than you have.
Think about the hypocrisy from the United States.
Yeah, about what?
The U.S. has the Monroe Doctrine, created by U.S. President James Monroe, and it's official U.S. policy that no European or Eastern powers can come over to the Western Hemisphere and do anything. We would consider that an...
And do anything. They can't come over here. They can own property. They can. They obviously can't engage in foreign influence in our elections. But, I mean, this dude doesn't live in the United States.
Aggressive move.
So that's why he's able to, I guess, get paid by Russia or whoever and do this wherever he is.
Against the United States. JFK, in fact, invoked the Monroe Doctrine during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Mm-hmm.
He told Khrushchev
and
in the Soviet Union to get those missiles out of Cuba because it was a violation of the Monroe Doctrine.
Yeah, this is different, though. We're allowing those countries to be sovereign in and of themselves. China's trying to take them over. That doesn't even parallel to the Cuban Missile Crisis, because as much as Cuba aligned itself with Russia, it did so willingly.
And it worked. Khrushchev caved. The Monroe Doctrine has no power. It's totally made up.
No, it isn't. And by the way, a doctrine is a pattern of behavior. It's a statement of ethic. That's the power of it, is using it and acting off of it.
It's like a group of boys building a tree house and putting a sign on it that says no girls allowed.
That's a different Monroe. That's Monroe from Too Close for Comfort, I think. Monroe. I believe that he had a Monroe Doctrine like that. I'm just going to go out on a limb if you don't know what I'm talking about. This Monroe. Monroe. Who always looked to me like the sitcom version of George Michaels.
By the way, why wouldn't you want girls in your boy's treehouse? I mean,
you'll have to ask Monroe. There's a couple of reasons.
Come on. But anyway, it doesn't really matter.
But anyway, I mean, I'm just doing the show alone. My wife's not here right now, so
It's just a piece of paper. It doesn't have any power. That's
yes, it does. It has whatever power you act on it with.
the Monroe Doctrine.
It's a doctrine, right? We understand it's not a legally binding treaty or something. It's how you behave, but it's understood as part of American policy. And it's also understood by other countries that it's part of American policy. So don't act on it, because we will react if you cross that line.
So who are we, the United States, to control the Western Hemisphere?
The Western Hemisphere? We don't.
Heck, even Russia.
Hold on, wait a minute.
For we, the United
Look
States,
at this edit.
to control the Western Hemisphere. Heck, even Russia, following the collapse of the Soviet Union, claimed that part of the world in that area was under Russia's sphere of influence that came from Moscow. So the United States has done it. Russia has done it.
Has done what? Again, what are we doing in this situation? We're just trying to let those countries operate as sovereign countries without China exerting overt control over them, so that they have the right to make whatever deals they want, whatever pacts they want on their own, not being wrapped up under this, under the Communist Party's control. The United States is a freedom-based alliance. It is, especially to those countries. That's why they sent China packing.
But if China wanted a sphere of influence,
which would be the point of control you're talking about. And there's a difference between what we thought of as our area, meaning our territorial waters directly around us, and the, Cuba's alignment as far as missiles and all that kind of stuff with Russia, which was, again, Cold War era stuff. And the difference between that and saying Samoa should be allowed to make its own fucking decisions.
we'd shut it down by building military bases in the Solomon Islands and everyone else to contain the dangerous red dragon that is China. Don't you just love the double standards in U.S. geopolitics?
Well, we're not. They're building military outposts on artificial islands they created to control India specifically from trading with Australia and Japan so that they can have choke points in the region so they can stop that. So they have hegemonic control over it. We're not. We're creating trade alliances and economic forum and business relationships with those countries without forcing them to do it.
Well, the Chinese government has responded with this today, quote, by spreading disinformation and smearing China's domestic and foreign policy.
Well, clearly, this is the truth. That's the important thing. What Blinken said was an absolute lie and full of, misinformation and manipulation by the U.S. imperialist pig dogs. But this statement is the unvarnished truth.
The real motive of Secretary of State Antony Blinken's address outlining the U.S. policy towards China is to maintain U.S. hegemony.
Hegemony. Oh, very scary word. By the way, we don't have hegemony in that area. We don't. We haven't actually sought it. We have relations like the Quad and the AUKUS agreement, and we have bilateral relationships with Japan, with South Korea, with Taiwan. We did with Hong Kong, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, all those countries, India, Australia, a lot of those in those areas. We have bilateral relationships with them. We don't have a gun to their head. China does.
Wow. Mic drop.
Clayton Morris loses $7 million lawsuit. Is that why he lives in another country? Hold on. Oh, he's a real estate scam artist. Clayton Morris was Holton Wise TV. Here you go.
Is like an authority on this, and I appreciate that. But if you're going to take the same tactic and strategy as the liberal press that they totally ignored for the sake of clickbait, when reporters would tell us that they specifically were not going to include other people that were harmed.
I bought a house through Clayton Morris. At some point, he stopped talking to me and responding to my emails until one of his employees sent me an email saying that intermediary run away with the money and all is lost. I've been constantly asking for updates on my property. Got some pictures of the property that I don't know if it was mine or not. I hired someone off Craigslist to go and take pictures. I'm very lucky that my property was almost finished when this kicked off. The builder stopped working, which I don't blame them. I talked to them and they lost a lot of money. Clayton Morris, as far as I know, didn't run away with the money. There's another company called Ocean Point run by Burt Wallen, who was getting money for the project. Clayton Morris was getting a referral omission. I guess he means commission. I tried talking to Burt Wallen over email. He claimed Clayton Morris was overselling what he was selling. The builders sort of confirmed this, said they were hired to build 125 houses, were expected to build them all at the same time when they didn't have capacity. I hired other people to finish my project and brought it to completion. It's now finished and rented out, and I'm happy. I personally think the biggest bad guy was Burt Wallen, but he ran away with a lot of money. I think probably Clayton Morris misrepresented himself and what he was selling. I'm definitely not happy how they reacted when so. Okay.
Because they wanted to focus on the Fox guy, just to drive traffic. And we've had
Clayton Morris on Fox News at some point.
conservative reporters reach out to us and just say how laughable it's been. And, you know, it's
I can only hope that he can be extradited back to the U.S. to face many criminal charges that he is apt to face in Indiana, Florida, and New Jersey. Okay, so that's why he's out of the country.
It's just a damn shame. I mean, you know, it really is. You know, I appreciate you reaching out about it, but you have to also appreciate when you're involved in litigation, as ridiculous as the litigation is.
The Morning Invest hosts Dark Past.
You can't talk about these things. You know, I can't go into specifics about any case. You know, you just can't. As much as I'd like to, I just don't. You know, I've done that with. You know, I don't know if you've ever been sued before. I hope you haven't.
Former Fox and Friends anchor turned real estate guru. Oh, that's who this asshole is. So Clayton Morris was on Fox and Friends? Jesus Christ. That was a short-lived thing. So this dipshit, that's why he lives out of the country. That's why he does his show in fucking... He fled in 2017. Good Lord. Hold on. Ex-Fox and Friends co-host. Let's see. Classy dude. Ex-Fox and Friends co-host Clayton Morris leaves the country amid fraud allegations. Has left the country amid more than 24 lawsuits from investors who say he defrauded them in real estate deals involving properties in Indianapolis. Previously resided in a $1.4 million home in New Jersey. Hey, it's the same price as is it not funny? That's how much Jimmy Dore paid for his house. Coincidence? I think not. Beware of anyone who pays $1.4 million for a house. That's our new rule. Has moved with his family to a coastal resort town, Portugal. That's where it was. According to his wife's Facebook post. In an email to Indy Star, Morris's wife and business partner, former MSNBC anchor Natalie Morris, said they plan to continue fighting the lawsuits from abroad. They denied responsibility for investor losses, instead blaming their Indianapolis business partner, Burt Wallen, and his company, Ocean Point. Well, then why'd you flee the fucking country? We have and continue to take responsibility for all our legal challenges that came from our relationship with Ocean Point. We have answered all of our Attorney General requests in all states. We have answered all lawsuits. We're leaving the country. We have not run from anything. We continue to show up for this until the last lawsuit is dismissed and it's clear that we neither had the money from Ocean Point investors nor did we defraud anyone. That's when he was on there. So now, basically, he just moved down there and started blogging from down there where it's cheap.
Doesn't that perfectly summarize what we've just seen?
Isn't it funny how if you use this guy's logic, he wouldn't be able to be a spokesperson for anything considering his history? Isn't it ironic?
I mean, I can't argue with that at all. He calls out the fake news that the United States is creating, and he calls out the double standard about U.S. power and hegemony. Man, if we only had a disinformation governance board, then maybe the United States would stop putting out all of this disinformation. Please like and subscribe to.
Oh, piss off. Gross. What an asshole. Yes, what an asshole he is.